on social media, physically, did you see any dead body in Enugu?
No, because it would be too dangerous to go out there and look
Dangerous in Enugu State? The 5 governors of the Southeast all came out together and gave a communique. It's very, very dangerous.
Why would he promote propaganda?
He's a lawyer. He's representing his clients. That's what I'm really concerned about. He did not come to Nigeria because he just loves Nigeria. Who paid for his flights to come into the country? Who paid for his accommodation? Who's responsible for that?
He had paid expenses when they went over there by the plaintiffs, and
By the plaintiffs.
and we met with the 10 plaintiffs there. Obviously, they can't make it out here. We had to meet in secret because of the security problem. There are people at the hotel, and there are military people with machine guns that were there as security people. They tell me that it's not militarized. These are ordinarily being you'd have security provided by civilian people, not people in dressed in army.
Would you still take up this case? If there's no monetary gain for you, would you still take up this case?
Yes, with regard to the level of persecution out there, and I want to say, this is not just picking on Nigeria. I've sued the president of Sri Lanka for trying to destroy Tamils in Sri Lanka. I'm against a lot of what the United States government does here when I think they're abuses of power.
Back to the issue at hand. You believe the deaths and Buhari's involvement is overly exaggerated.
This is the beacon of the continent of Africa. Recently, I was at Fordham Law, just some 2 weeks ago in New York, and we're discussing the 25th Amendment, the issue of the presidential succession in America. The issue we have in Nigeria, it's one of the most complex places to live in and to lead because of our history. And you see, we're going through a democratic progression that takes time. Politicians and people have fanned the flames of ethnicity to score gains. And it's so sad to hear Mr. Bruce Fein talk about some of these things he's talking about. I am actually shocked. There are constitutional ways of challenging the federal government of Nigeria. If you want anything done, we have a National Assembly that is still very active. With its inadequacies and shortcomings, it exists. So if you talk about a group of people who are talking about marginalization, I mean, they have the right to pursue any effort that has to do with their self-determination. It's fine. And all Nigerians are in support of that. But the question is this: why would Nigeria be placed in this kind of light to the world? A nation that played a huge role in so many nations across Africa. South Africa's apartheid movement,
let me just respond in a couple of things.
Are you sure about your sources? You're sure about the deaths? You have no regrets?
No. In fact, we're litigating them in court here. We understand there's due process. Now, you talk about the democratic progress. Well, what has been the effort to let the Nigerian people vote on the Constitution? You talk about due process. Well, where was the right of IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, given a chance to respond to the allegation they're a terrorist group? You walk in, ex-party, there's no due process, no notice, suddenly they're a terrorist group. And you're saying democratic progress when you have a terrorism described as anything that injures, the reputation of the Nigerian government, so you make free speech, an act of terror? Where's all this progress you're talking about? And you say all these legitimacy of the institutions, every one of them is built upon a 1999 decree of a military dictator that has never been voted upon. Never. When are you going to have a vote on the Nigerian Constitution that all the Nigerian people can vote on?
We have elections coming up in 2019. If you want to see democratic process, come there and see what will happen.
Under what kind of constitution?
That's like I said earlier on. All over the country right now, we're celebrating our independence, right? And loads of people have all been talking about ways to ensure that we have a better constitution. And all Nigerians actually believe that there are certain things to look at. And it's a debate that is the hottest topic right now in Nigeria. And that's what democracy allows us to do. We have a right to sit down and look at the constitution and say, look, if this is not working for us, this is the creation of the colonial masters then, right? The 99 Constitution was also a creation also of the military. And there is a general consensus on the fact that it needs to be changed. That is not a problem. So, but when you say that we do not follow due process and all of these allegations, it's a little bit
Fantasy.
off the yes.
Now let me address that again.
He
One
loves
of
his
the
good
things-
Bruce.
what-
You would defend your beloved America the same way if someone had broadcast and millions of people were up in arms prior to the election. I mean, he lives in Nigeria.
I defend his right to free
He
speech.
has his fingers on the pulse of what's going on there. You have no regrets about anything that in your findings and the people that you represent, that they're above board, they're not feeding you propaganda, and you stand by them.
Absolutely, and one of the things in the lawsuit already, we had to, and the court authorized us to identify our plaintiffs as John Doe's and Jane Roe's. They had to be anonymous because the danger was so acute that their identities would cause the government to immediately retaliate against them by killing or maiming or terrifying not only them or the families. That's a court order. That isn't anything that I did unilaterally. That was the court order. And you talk about the free speech there. We had to be talking muffled voices when you even, over in Enugu, even thinking about, well, there really needs to be an autonomy or an independent Biafra, because the IPOB, which is engaged in protests, peaceful demonstrations in favor of a Biafran independence, what is the result? They come down, the military, and massacres and kills them. So the idea that you can walk down the near Asu Rock, outside Asu Rock, in Abuja, and claim I'm in favor of an independent Biafra and not be molested, not be charged with a crime of injuring the government of Nigeria is just wrong-headed.
On a daily basis, there are all kinds of protests going on about these issues, right? And, look, we live in a world where you have so many young people who need the right kind of motivation to do the things they need to do. And the democratization of social media has made it so easy for words like this to go very, 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 very fast. I believe that you're an upright man, someone who has the fear of God. I would say this to you. You might need to come to Nigeria at a different time and look at these issues more critically and hear from Nigerians themselves what exactly is happening in the country. This country is the beacon of Africa. We have our challenges like every other nation, and all growth starts from within. Nature tells us this. If we have our issues, we settle our issues by ourselves. You have a legal code in America. We have ours in the country. We're not saying it's perfect, but we're going through a process. And we have an opportunity to exercise our rights, come 2019, to choose who we want to be our president and who want to be governors of our different states in the country. But to give the impression that Nigeria is under siege, that we have a military dictator who is killing people and it is just so wrong.